Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Meeting Place. I'm your host, Jonathan Colleton, and this is UTSC's Student Life Podcast, where we talk to students about the experiences they've had at UTSC. This week's guest is Rohan Chadha, and as an international student from India, Rohan is one of U of T's Leicester B. Pearson scholars. He's only in his second year, and him and I talked about all the things he got involved in his first year, as well as a couple nonprofit organizations he started in his own time back home. So take a listen to my interview with Rohan. So today's guest is Rohan, and this is interesting because I think, Rohan, this is the first person I've talked to who's actually in a different country when we've done our interview. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and be part of this great podcast.
Fantastic. And so you're in India right now, right?
Yeah, I'm actually back in India. I think I went back right before COVID properly hit back in February, and I've been home for the summer semester, and now it's the fall semester that I'm doing here.
So, you went back in February. So that's earlier. Like we didn't go into lockdown until middle of March. So did you just kind of see things coming and decided to get out?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to say that it was a sixth sense, but for me, it was mostly that the winter semester. It was released that it's going to be online, and it was one of my opportunities to go back home and spend those extra few days with my family, which I really appreciate. And I just took that chance, and I went back, and things changed.
Okay. All right. So, and that happened in your first year because now you're in your second year, and you told me you're doing a double degree in management, quantitative finance, and statistics. So you're going to have to explain that to me because being that my job is not on the academic side of campus, I'm not always as focused as what we're doing on the academic side. So a double degree, explain to me how that works.
Yeah, sure. I actually get this question a lot because whenever I explain what my program is in the long version, usually people kind of nod off after the first degree. So in the
All right, then
long
give me the
version,
short version then.
all right, I'm going to give you both. I'm going to give you both.
Okay.
So the short version is that I'm doing a double degree in management and finance. That's the short version. It's sweet and simple. And the long version is that I'm doing a double degree co-op program where my first degree is a bachelor's of business administration in management and finance. And my second degree is a bachelor of science in quantitative finance and statistics.
Okay. So now, yeah, it's a lot to wrap my head around here. So how many credits do you have to take? Like for a typical degree, you'd have to take X number of credits. Do you end up having to take extra years and more credits to make the 2 degrees work?
Yeah, so the interesting fact about this degree is that it's only 3 years old now. So I'm the second batch or second cohort to get into this program, and it's a 5 year degree, as you said. And for a normal degree that you would be doing at U of T or UTSC, you would have to do 20 credits, which you can spread over. The average time is to do it over 4 years. And for the double degree, the advantage is that I just have to do 25 credits and over 5 years, and I can graduate with 2 degrees.
Okay. And you know what's funny that you said that the average is over 4 years because that's what most of us think, right? But I remember being at a presentation and we got told that the average time a UTSC student takes to graduate is actually over 6 years. So
Oh, wow.
a lot of people end up taking maybe working part-time and taking a credit here or there to finish up their degree afterwards. So, or there's some people who are taking like 8 years, bringing up the average, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 4 years would be standard, but I think a lot of people these days are doing 5. And so you're doing 5, but you're fitting 2 different degrees in there. So that's certainly a lot of work. And so let's get into how you actually ended up at UTSC in the first place. I always love this question. Like, how is it that you're what, 9.5 hours time difference away from me right now, I think we determined. And
Yeah.
how do you pick UTSC? Like of all the schools in all the world, if you're going to go somewhere, why UTSC?
It's actually a really interesting question as well. And I have a little bit of a story for it. Is the point that the way I actually came to U of T and not just UTSC was all because of, I guess, sheer luck. When I was applying to colleges and I was looking at universities across internationally as well, outside of India and within India as well. My plan was always to stay somewhere in India, do university within, stay close to family, and just get through the first undergraduate degree and then move out for the postgraduate. That was the ideal plan. And things really changed around when around I think October, when I decided that might as well give UFT a chance. It's pretty improbable that I'm going to get in, but let's just give it a shot and let's see where we get with it. And I ended up applying in October with almost no scope or hope to get in, and and then I got my admission in I think March, and I was over the moon, and it changed everything for me. It changed my plans. It changed how I was going to do university, and it's been the most incredible experience so far.
Fantastic. And so you also told me you're a Lester B. Pearson scholar, which is something I've heard of, but I don't really know about it very well. So can you tell me what exactly that means?
Definitely. So the Leicester Scholarship is usually awarded to 37 international students each year. It's named after the great Lester B. Pearson. And the goal behind the scholarship is to provide international students who demonstrate a good all-rounded achievement and personality in their communities the chance to study at a global university like U of T, and to really support them through their education. And this is a scholarship that I got to know about right in October when I wanted to give U of T a try. And this scholarship was the make or break for me to go to U of T, because spending the
Yeah, it's
international
not cheap.
tuition, it's not cheap. You're absolutely right. And spending that kind of international tuition for 4 years was almost an impossible decision for me to make, and also to even request my parents that you put so much money into my undergrad. But the Leicester B scholarship just made that entire process so much easier, and it gave me the means to go pursue my dream here at U of T.
Fantastic. And so it seems like, given what you kind of sent me as your bio before this interview, you certainly made the most of your first year at UTSC. You got involved in a number of different things. So let's kind of start off at the very beginning of last year for you. What was the first thing you ended up getting involved in as an extracurricular?
Yeah, so when I started out my first year at university, it was obviously a new experience all around. It was a new culture, with new people, and it was just an experience which is new for me because of coming from India. And my attitude going into the first year was just do everything, get involved, get into events, just get a feel of everything. And with that attitude, I started getting involved. And the first thing that I actually participated in my first year was this event called All Hands on DECA, which is a case competition club in the UTSC management circle. And at the event, it was essentially an information session and an event where the first years could get to know the executive team behind DECA UTSC and play a couple of fun games, meet new people, meet new first years who could, potentially become your friends for the rest of university and even beyond. And that experience just made me want to get involved in clubs so much more, because I actually met two of my closest friends who I'm very close to this day at that event. And it was one of the reasons why I started getting more involved with clubs and attending more events, and really become part of the UTSC management and the UTSC community as a whole.
You know what? I've heard that over and over, like how many people end up meeting people they become so close with when they get involved in things that are outside their classes, right? Because when you're in class, it's everyone's there and not everybody wants to be in that class. Sometimes you just need to be in that class. But if you get involved in a club or any sort of extracurricular, that's a choice, right? And so all the people there are there generally for the same reasons you are, to try and meet people, to build up skill sets. So you end up having a lot of really good opportunities to meet people. So I'm glad you were able to take advantage of that. So
Yeah.
so when you found DECA and you realized this was something you really enjoyed and you met these friends, is that kind of what launched you into getting involved in some of the other clubs you were involved in?
Yeah, so what actually got me encouraged, and I would use the word inspired over here, is that when I went into the event and being and looking at a university club and the executives behind the university club, I expected them to be amazingly professional and just amazing individuals who've achieved a lot. And me just being a first year who's come from high school with almost no case competition experience, I was pretty intimidated to get into that atmosphere. And when I got in and I just started talking to one of the executives about, what is DECA? Because I had no idea at that point. That executive did not judge me at all, did not feel like, oh, why don't you know what DECA is? Why are you here? And they were just so incredibly supportive and so encouraging to all of the first years and all the participants at that event, that I realized that they're people as well, and they're amazing individuals behind the professional executives that they perceive to be. And that made me realize that, if the executives are so nice, definitely there are going to be other clubs where I can get involved, where I can meet new people. And it's not just about networking, right? At the end of the day, it's about creating those memorable relationships and those times at university that you're going to remember way down the line.
100%. And I can tell you, as someone who's like 8 or 9 years out of university, whatever it is now, yeah, those things are what I think back on as like the best moments of university. So they certainly getting involved in meeting people, being involved in, for you, case competitions. For me, it was other stuff. Those are some of the best memories I definitely have. And so I'm looking at some of the other groups you were involved in, and you said you were, or maybe you're involved right now in the live competition. Is it right
Yeah.
now?
Yeah, you're
Okay,
absolutely
so
right.
so let's talk about that because they are also, I believe, a case competition group.
Yeah, so Live is actually one of it's a Canada-wide national strategy case competition, and Live was actually my second case competition experience after DECA, and this was something that I got involved in more organically than just my own initiative. It was just the fact that I was involved with the UTSC management community and the clubs. I used to be I used to be that eager first year that was at every event, that just showed up even if he didn't know anything about the event, but he just used to go in, meet the same people, have some fun conversations, and just be there for the experience. And through that process over the fall semester in my first year, I slowly started to get to know a lot of executives from different clubs. And around the time when the executive hiring started for the 2020-2021 calendar year, which was about February end, I was approached by a live competition that, we really like the kind of work that you've been doing and we really appreciate the commitment you have. Do you want to get involved with us? And my answer was an immediate yes. It was a yes, I want to do this. It's exactly what I want to get involved with. And just spiraling back from my story, live competition is, as I said, a strategy case competition that's open to all students from all universities across Canada. And the one thing that really got me hooked alive was the fact that it's a multidisciplinary case competition. So, what a lot of students see and a lot of students participate in case competitions is that it's usually focused or specialized in one field. You might have a case competition completely based on accounting or something completely based on finance or trading, whereas live gives you a holistic understanding of all the different specializations within management. So whether it be finance, marketing, accounting, HR, strategic management, it's going to give you a whole range of options to do at the actual competition. And that's what made my experience so good and made me want to get involved.
We should probably actually explain like what actually happens during a case competition because there are probably some people listening who aren't really sure what that means. So let's say you're doing the live competition. You show up on a Friday, it's till a Sunday, or like how does it work? Give me the layout for it.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's go through it. So how about we do a little bit of a role play? You can be the first day who's participating in live, and I'm gonna be the exec who's gonna be talking to you about the case com. I'm gonna be pitching it to you.
Oh,
So
fantastic. Okay, let's do that.
all right, so here it goes, Jonathan. Live competition is a 2-day case competition which focuses on giving you a holistic understanding of all the different specializations under management. So what you can do at live competition is that you're going to be getting different cases which will explain different business case scenarios from real companies like Microsoft and Nestle or Telus or Rogers. All these multinational companies, they're going to give you real life cases, and you and your team have to get involved. You have to collaborate together, research a lot of material, create some of your assumptions and conclusions about that case, and finally create a solution to what that case asks you to do. So, whether it's going to be asking you to create a social media campaign for a new product they're launching, or do a little bit of financial analysis about a product that they've been selling for the last 1 year, you and your team are going to be collaborating and creating those conclusions to present finally. And this is where it gets this is the best part about the case competition, is that you're going to be able to present your ideas and your solutions to the actual executives from those companies. So let's say that you're presenting a solution of Microsoft Teams during a pandemic and how to use it to effectively communicate with teams. You're going to be able to explain that solution to an actual Microsoft employee who, if they like it, will actually be able to consider those decisions that you make in the actual product.
Well, now I understand what case competitions are. So thank you for that very thorough explanation. And I'm sure a bunch of students are listening right now and they're like, oh, now I know. I want to get involved in that. So that's great. Um, so the other thing I'm curious about what you got involved in last year, you're a student ambassador. So how did that come up? How did you decide to end up doing that? Which, by the way, in case no one's familiar, that would mean that you would kind of give tours of campus to prospective students. Am I right?
Yeah, so that's actually the perception that I had in the start of it as well. So initially, and this is again a pre-COVID era as we can call it, UTSC being a UTSC student ambassador was about doing two things. One was really getting involved with the events and the organizations of U of T and their collaborations with high schools. So if prospective high school students used to come to the campus and they wanted to learn more about different programs, the different activities available on campus, the student ambassadors are their first point of contact. And that was essentially one of the roles that were available. And the second role that's available as a student ambassador is what you rightly mentioned, is giving tours to prospective high school students and taking them through all the different amazing places that we have on campus. And the way that I got involved in the student ambassador program was, again, as it comes back to the whole attitude that I had in the start of first year, that just do everything, just get involved. Even if it's not for you, you're going to get to know that it's not for you after attending maybe one session of it, or a second session. And when I was doing that, I was kind of on the fence about joining the ambassador program because there's a lot of training that you have to do it. And it's essentially very rewarding on hindsight. But one of my friends, in first year, both of us were trying to get involved in the community, and we said, okay, this sounds pretty cool. Why don't we get involved? And since then, we've both been student ambassadors, and it's just been an experience which I can't forget. It's been a very important part of my first year because I didn't get to do any of the traditional responsibilities that a student ambassador had due to the campus restrictions and all the other things that happen over time. But it's given the ambassador program a new understanding and really unleashed its potential, because there's so much that we can do virtually for the ambassador program, and to take the name of UTSC forward and make it give more information to high school students. And that's what we're focusing on now.
That's a pretty good sales pitch for that office. So I applaud you on that.
Thank
Um,
you.
so hopefully, yeah, we'll get you back on campus at some point and you can start doing some of those traditional duties that you were talking about. The other thing I want to talk about is I'm aware of the fact that you, at the age of 16, started your own nonprofit organization in India called Something Central. So tell me all about that. How did that come about?
Yeah, so actually the organization that I started off when I was 16, it was called Sri Sahayata, and it
Right.
was
Sorry. Something Central's your next thing that you're working on. All right.
yeah.
Well, let's talk about both of them then.
Yeah, well, let's do that. So, the first initiative that I started in this grew. It started off as a small idea and a initiative to kind of support the Indian healthcare public sector um, by providing essential and basic healthcare facilities to the economically weaker section of the society in India. And initially, this was all just an idea in my mind that, I'm fortunate enough to come from a relatively privileged household in India, and I have everything that I need for my basic sustenance and more. So what's the best way to give back? And that kind of opened up the possibilities of a lot of things, because India, as you know, is a developing country, and there's a lot that we're currently working on. There's a lot of progress that's being made in the country itself. And one of the things that I wanted to focus on, which was based on a personal experience of mine, was the fact that a lot of the individuals who are part of the non-skilled labor and who do manual jobs, they didn't have access to a lot of the basic healthcare facilities. And to your amazement, and this is something that I was shocked to as well, was that some of them didn't even know how to use a toothbrush, or did not know even the basic understanding of hygiene. And all of this really startled me, and I started looking and researching more about, what's really the best way to give them not only the resources in the short term, but to create a new habit and explain to them the importance of primary healthcare as well as hygiene. So, after doing a lot of research and talking to a lot of my friends, my family, my school administration, I started building towards the idea that I want to target different villages and slums in India, really go into the grassroots of it and get to know the people and their situations. Why is it at such a level that basic hygiene is something that they have to make a choice between, which is whether I want food today or whether I want basic hygiene. And after understanding the kind of difficult decisions that they have to make on a daily basis, I started getting involved with one village at a time. And what we did is, me and a lot of amazing volunteers that I had for the project, we recognize the type of demographic that was living in each of the villages. We understood where they go to work, what kind of usual injuries do they have, what kind of like basic disease are they susceptible to cold, are they susceptible to a lot of cough, what's their living situation. And after understanding the demographic that lived there, we created, you can call them primary healthcare kits, essentially a first aid kit, which included a lot of the basic first aid medicines and equipment, as well as uh, essential medicines for cold and cough and other basic diseases that would be so valuable to them. And this is where the project kind of took a little bit of a turn, and it helped me develop it to a bigger level. Was that we could have simply given them the kits and called it a day. That was good enough for us. But what we ended up doing was that not only did we give them the kit, but we created a relationship with them. we explained to them, why are we doing this for you? What's the point of this kit? And we gave them a lot of education about basic healthcare and hygiene. And slowly and steadily, over certain months, we worked with one village for about 6 months. We were able to gain their trust, and they started to trust whatever feedback and advice we gave them. And they used to get their kits replenished. And the more resources that we gave them with the education, we ended up inculcating a habit for them to start using those healthcare services as much as they could. And we did this with three different villages, and we were I'm really happy to say that we were able to help 1,800 villagers as of now, and we're going to try to help a lot more as well.
Oh, that's amazing, Rohan. And something that I was thinking when you were talking about that is you can't help people who don't want to be helped. So I think the really important thing that you did is explain why, right? Instead of just coming in and there's a term that I've heard people use, like voluntourism, where people go into other places and like, oh, I'm going to help the local population, but then they're really there to take a bunch of Instagram pictures of, them doing good deeds. And like you did a very good job avoiding that by actually making sure that people understood why you were there. So that's awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to do something like that.
Thank you so
Now,
much.
did that become the catalyst for your other venture, something central, or is that like totally different?
No, you're actually absolutely right. It was exactly the catalyst that I needed to start. That, as well as the pandemic, were the two catalysts that made me start this.
The pandemic has been chaos, but there are a lot of really good things. Like overall, very bad, but there are a lot of interesting ventures that have come out of it, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think people really got a chance. Obviously, there's so many things that we would have all hoped to avoid, but I think the
Yes.
one good thing that's come out of the pandemic is that people really had a chance to take a moment away from our busy pacing lives, and we had a chance to reflect back on, what are we really doing to feel, to do well for the community. What are we doing ahead of just our own goals and our own career paths? And I think that's something that was really good that's come out of this.
Yeah. So your organization, tell me all about it.
Yeah. So essentially, after having a couple of years of experience the with Sri Sayata, which was my Indian public healthcare NGO, I realized a really important fact, and this came pretty gradually and really hit me hard during the pandemic, was that there are so many high school as well as university students who are incredibly passionate about the community. They really want to, they have a genuine need to want to give back to the community and do well for the people around them who've given them so much to be at a position that they are. And what I found out was that, and it's included my own story, was that when I started my first nonprofit, I struggled a lot, just like any other kid at 16 would. No one would take me seriously at the start. They would just think I'm a kid. This is not really going to happen. It's just an idea. But slowly and steadily, when I continued to put in the effort and continued to believe in that project and in that cause, I started seeing a change in the attitude of the people around me, whether it be my teachers, my friends, even my family for that matter. Everyone started to understand that, just because you're young doesn't mean you can't make change, doesn't mean you can't have a meaningful impact. And that really hit hard for me because that came very gradually. And to get the resources such as funding to create my kits, as well as to get students to volunteer for the project and get their support to make everything happen. It was not an easy task. It took a lot of networking, a lot of connections, a lot of small coffee chats, a lot of explaining the idea over and over again, which is good practice to create the pitch. But I definitely thought that there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to collaborate between social entrepreneurs or people just trying to make a change in their community, whether it's a small change or whether is something big that they're trying to start. And that thought is where my new venture, something central, really built out of. And it's essentially taking a millennial focused approach on popularizing community service and popularizing the concept of social initiatives and doing well for the community within the youth. So the high school students, the middle school students, the university students, the ones who are the most passionate about making our world, our environment a better place. It's to support them and give them one common platform to meet each other, to collaborate with each other, to donate to different projects, to volunteer for different projects, and essentially bring people together.
Fantastic. And so if people wanted to find out more about that organization, what's the best way for them to look it up?
All right, so the best way for them to look it up is the website link that we have going. So we actually created a website, which at this point is in the launch phase, but there's a lot of information about the project on the website where you can learn more about it, and you can always email the contact information that's on the website to learn more. And something that I would love to mention right now, having this great opportunity to talk to all of you, is that the team that we have for this venture, it started out as just me and just the basic idea of me trying to get this started. And we've now grown to about 7 students, all from the University of Toronto, from all 3 campuses. And if you're looking to get involved in this project, and if you're just looking to get an opportunity to give back to the society and to the community, and you want to do something more than just focus on the academics, this is a great project to learn more about. I'm not going to sell it anymore, but just learn more about it and definitely check out the website.
Fantastic. So that website is somethingcentral.org, and I'll make sure I put a link in the description of this podcast. Wherever people are listening, they should have a link to it. So yeah, it sounds like you've had a very busy few years from, well, even more from 16 until now. You've been working on a lot of different things. What do you think is the long-term plan for you when I know you're only like a year and a month into your time at UTSC, but what do you think you might do long-term?
That is a question that I ponder a lot on. A lot of the times it's, what's it gonna be in the future? Because something that has been on my mind for a while is that I'm studying management and finance, and I'm going into the depth of quantitative analysis. So it's a lot of technical skills, as you might say. Whereas a lot of my love and my passion is to do well for the community. And for the longest time, I always felt it had to be a choice between the two. And I thought that, if I want to do well in finance, the community service has to take a side step. Or if I want to pursue social entrepreneurship, finance has to take a break. But over the past month or two, and I can totally credit this to the environment that UFT creates for you to think more creatively and more innovatively. I started looking into and researching more about sustainable investing and sustainable financing, which is a field of investment and trading that you can get involved in from a very early position in your career. And that's definitely up on my radar, which is to um, become or this is definitely one of my dreams, is to become an investment analyst, specifically focusing on the environmental, sustainable, and governance goals for the future, and do well for the community through what I'm studying.
Well, I am a big supporter of those goals. So I wish you a lot of luck making that happen. And hopefully, whenever this pandemic is all sorted out, I'll actually get to meet you in person on campus one day.
Yeah, I would love that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your whole experience with all of the student listeners today. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. You too.